youth department.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
And so this is our every Thursday crowd. A little bit crazy sometimes they get, but
alhamdulillah.
All right, so here, take over. It's all you.
Here's some chai. I know you just woke up.
Water, we got dates.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. Okay, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. As always, we start with the name of Allah Ta'ala and by sending salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions, to ask Allah to raise his rank and his status and to protect his Muslim nation, which is us, from everything that he feared for them, which is disobedience to Allah Ta'ala in any way whatsoever. Ameen. Ameen. And so today, to be completely honest with you all, I usually, prepare very well for a speaking engagement and to give a speech for, 5 minutes or for 6 minutes or for 10 minutes or for 14 minutes or for, 22 minutes, depending on the event that we're having. But today, I'm more excited to make this particular session an open engagement session because I'm more excited to learn from you all. And I think something that's very common all over the country is that the Muslim children, whether you were raised in an Islamic household and your mother and your father practiced Islam in the way that you've seen it, in the way that you were able to mimic and be successful in it, as well as those Muslim children who are, just Muslim by name and, maybe they didn't see a great example of Islam being practiced in their households, but they're still Muslim nonetheless, But so those are two sides of the spectrum. But what you're seeing here, and it's happening all around the country, is that we're losing our youth. We're losing them. When you get to the age around, 12, 13, 7th grade, 8th grade, there are a lot of things that happen physically, and there are a lot of things that happen mentally, which affect your spirituality. And all of us, how many of the mentors are here, are the youth counselors here for the program that work for the program? 1, 2, 3 is Muhammad, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 people in this room that that you can trust. And so inshallah, some of the things we're going to talk about today, when you have some private time, then maybe you go speak to them, you go speak to them again about these things because you already trust them. But the reason why they're trusted by your parents to be in a position of authority over you is because they've already been through these things and they have succeeded at them. So those things that were, changed with them physically and mentally, it affected their spirituality in a way where they would be spiritually inclined enough to be someone for you to look up to and to be trusted by the community in that. So a few of these topics that we have, and if any of these topics sound familiar for you or for anyone that you know in your community or your group of friends, please just give me a raise of hands, inshallah. So if you know anyone who is or who has been afflicted by violence, raise your hand. Okay? And if you know of anyone who has been afflicted with drug use, raise your hands. And if you know anyone who has been distracted by the opposite sex in not such a good way, raise your hand. And so here, because we don't have too much time, so here I want to focus more so around these 3 things, because I think that young people, some of the biggest things that young people think about and that grabs young people's hearts and grabs young people's minds are the opposite sex. So we want to talk about that some. And we want to talk about the proper ways to handle that and the right ways to do that. Brothers, how to be respectful. Sisters, how to respect yourselves. Because you're not inhuman for feeling the ways that you feel. However, we are Muslims and there are etiquettes to everything to protect our hereafter. SubhanAllah. Sheikh Aisha is taking care of me. Alhamdulillah. like she always does. Alhamdulillah. And so I attempted to be informal, so I'm going to be even more informal. Is that okay? If that's okay with you guys? So, and then about drug use, and the reason why we call this a disease is because there are a lot of times when people feel overwhelmed, when they feel pressured, whether that's pressure coming within themselves, whether it's peer pressure, whether it's not being able to uphold the pressure from your parents or from your teachers, but pressure nonetheless. And sometimes what we do, we try to cope that with other feelings. However, this also is a distraction from shaitan. And I'll ask some questions because I want everyone to, get engaged. Everyone say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Everyone say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Okay, maybe. Everyone say Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay, one more time. Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And all of the brothers smile. Smile. Let me see your teeth. Let me see your teeth. I know you're tough guys. Let me see your teeth. I don't see your teeth. Where's your teeth? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And all those brothers over there. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I'll be personal, actually. When I was a young man, is there anyone here younger than 13? No. Anyone younger than 14? You're 13? No way. Oh, I was gonna say, whoa. Really? How old is he? No. Are you 13 really? You play sports? No? SubhanAllah. Maybe Allah is growing you for strength for jihad, inshallah. So, when I was 13, I grew up in a place, I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey. And when I was 13 in 2003, so my eldest here, you guys maybe remember some of the climate around the country and different things that were going on there. And something that was going on around when I was 13 or 14 is that at least they called them terrorists. They were calling all of us who were Muslims terrorists at the time. They bombed the World Trade Centers. And if any of you spoke to your parents, by show of hands, how many of you know how hard it was for Muslims at that time when they bombed the World Trade Center? And I'll tell you something. It's funny because I would come to school and I would have friends who were from other countries, but not from America, and they would be terrified. They would be terrified, and they would come to school and they would say, my mom said this and my dad said this and the government's going to get us this and the government's going to get us that, and then you had kids like me who, my parents were Muslims, but we didn't have a lot of practice in the house, and we didn't have all the time good examples to show us how to implement or how to embody our deen. And so for us, that kind of paranoia we didn't face. And the reason why I want to mention that is because a lot of the young Muslims today, how many of you speak to your parents about some of the radicalism of the president today? Nobody speaking to your parents? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And what you're going to find here is that you young people, you have a responsibility to yourselves and to each other. And that is to, first and foremost, to protect each other. And how do you do that? How do you protect each other? Because I had friends and I would tell them, I said, hey, yo, look, man, I don't know about, the bombs going off, but I know about this guy that got shot the other day. And he's not worried about the bombs going off either, And that was supposed to be a joke. It wasn't funny, though. So, and he would tell me, he would say, yo, Ibn, because rarely did people say Ibn Ali. They just call me Ibn or call me Ali. And he would tell me, he would say, you're Muslim, though. You're not afraid to be, when the police come by or this or that, you see guys in suits or this or that. I said, yo, man, absolutely not. So then I went to my own mom and I spoke to my own mom about it. I said, Mom, everyone at school, everyone's all scared, to be a Muslim now. All my friends from Pakistan and all my friends, from Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran, all of them, they're scared to be Muslims now, And then my mother told me, that you have to help them. You have to help them because this thing that they have now, she said, black people, that we already been through these kind of things in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s with oppression, with racism, with all of these things, and then putting blocks in our way to achieve ourselves. And she told me that you have to help them. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm young, I'm like 13. I'm saying, Mom, help them how? Like, what are you talking about? That's for you to do. You're a parent. You go to the school, say something to the principal or something, and you help them. And but she encouraged me to help them, and like a kid, I just go and I'm thinking help them means don't let anyone talk bad to them on the playground. So listening to my mom, when someone would say something bad to them on the playground, I would step up for them. I would help them. I was that friend who would, I would help them. But from that, we've grown beautiful relationships, and some of those people are still my friends today. And the point of that is that during my life, I had struggles too. There were some things that I couldn't overcome by myself either. And there were some things that I couldn't do with the help of my parents or the help of my teachers either. And there were some things that I needed my friends to help me with because they were strong in some areas that I was weak. So I was strong in some places where they were weak, and they were strong in some areas where I was weak. And how many of you have friends where you're stronger than them in some areas and they're stronger than you in some areas? How many of you have friends where, some of the areas where, they're weak in, that sometimes it may lead them to doing something disobedient to Allah? So if you know this about that friend in particular, because the habit of young people is that young people hide their true selves from the adults, right? Young people, they'll hide their true selves from the teachers, right? Or even sometimes your mentors, right? Or you'll be away with them that's more open than your parents, but you'll still be away with them that's like, I don't know, man. He's an adult. He's my mentor. She's an adult. She's my mentor. I don't want her to think this about me or think that about me. So I'll keep that to myself just for my friend. And I know I'm going to ask for a raise of hands, but I know everyone understands that. And the thing is that sometimes when you see this person, because the nature of doing something bad is that you hide it. That's the nature of doing something bad, is that you hide it, And so the thing is that if someone's doing a thing where they're not hiding it, either they're hiding it from everyone, but they're not hiding it from you, then that thing that they're not hiding, it may be a call out for help. It may be a call out for help. It may be them saying, hey, I'm jacked up. I don't know how to not do this thing, but you know what? I'm going to do it. But maybe if I let you know that I'm going to do it because you're such my good friend, you're going to stop me from doing it. You're going to stop me from doing it. Or you're going to remind me, right? Because sometimes, here's the thing, sometimes you can't tell somebody, hey, you're doing bad, don't do that. Sometimes you may want to tell a person, you say, hey, you know what? You were doing much better, when you were studying Quran. Yo, bro, you were doing much better, man. You were remembering, you had, X amount of surahs. You were doing great, bro. Maybe you want to do it that way. Maybe you don't say, yo, bro, you're going to get hurt or, something's bad going to happen to you. Maybe you say, hey, look, man, you were doing much better, when you were getting up for tahajjud at night. You were doing much better when you were coming to the masjid for Maghrib every single day. You were doing much better, So the job of young people is to answer the call out for help. So I need all of you to promise me before we continue is that when you see your young friends, and who I hope your friend is someone that you consider your family, someone that you love, is that when you see them going astray, is that you won't wait for them to call out and help you, to call out to you for help, is that you will grab them immediately. Can everyone promise me that? Inshallah. Everyone say, I promise. I don't know how serious that was. Yo, everybody, from that promise, look around at your friends. If these are your friends, don't look at me. Really, sisters, look at sisters. Brothers, look at the brothers. Because you know each other. You know each other. You know each other. You know what you're going through. I'm just a guest. I don't know what you're going through. Now that everyone's looked at each other, now, do you promise?
Yes.
No, say I promise.
I promise.
That was more like it. That's one that I could believe. So, you got a joke? No, you can say it. I like jokes. No? You want to share it? You don't want to share it? Oh, he has a couple jokes. Oh, what's his name? What's your name? Say it again. Faisal? Alhamdulillah. Faisal the comedian. Alhamdulillah. Make all the jokes about Pharaoh and his arrogance and how Allah Ta'ala, dealt with him for that. SubhanAllah. So here, from from a show of hands, because I would like to know from the young people, because I really want to talk about what you want to talk about. I don't want to bore you, and I really want to connect with you in a way that you go home with something, inshallah. So, is there anyone here who has a question in specific? For me in specific, young man, stand up. You gotta stand up, and you gotta say your name. You gotta say your name, and you have to say your father's name, and his father's name. Okay, alhamdulillah, I accept. I'm not the feds, but I accept.
My name is Kareem, and my question is...
Kareem, and Kareem ibn who? Who's your father? Say it doesn't matter, say it. Hussein, alhamdulillah. So Kareem ibn Hussein, how are you? Alhamdulillah. You should give him, the thing with the youth is that you guys are the next group of adults. So the thing with respect is that he will only respect all of you if all of you respect him. So if everyone's talking, when it's time for him to talk, and everyone's laughing when it's time for him to laugh, two things will happen. One, his confidence level will drop in the question he's going to ask. But the question that he's going to ask or the statement he's going to make, it possibly may be a benefit for all of us, And also, he's going to have a lack of trust for you guys if you laugh at him too much. He's never going to say it, but it's something that he's going to hold inside himself. And we see this happening all the time with this phenomenon of bullying. The thing with bullying is not always the actual act. It's the thing that happens after the act. And that laughing that we hear, the snickering that we hear, it just reminds me of bullying. And he's your brother. I know you're not bullying him. But, inshallah, we should try to keep these things to a minimum as much as we can, inshallah. Kareem Hussein?
It's on what you mentioned earlier about men, controlling their... What?
Men controlling their what?
I mean, I don't want to be like that guy. Their horniness and stuff.
And another thing is that as we speak, here's another thing, is that as we speak and as we engage, is that about you guys being young men and women, is that you are young adults. So if you have a question, think of your question. Think of the best way to phrase your question, and in a mature way. And then if anyone hears something that they're not used to hearing, then you have to be mature and hold your laughing again so that way you don't offend him, inshallah.
It's about how you told men to control themselves and how women to respect themselves.
Yes.
Do you have any tips on how men can control themselves, and any tips to remember Allah every single day? And we know they see temptations everywhere. Do you have any tips on how to control yourself even more than you're supposed to?
Subhanallah. So first let me say is that I'm going to answer your question, but first let me say is that you can sit down, inshallah. Is that my education level, there are some things that I'm going to have to refer to even my teachers and to your teachers, because my education level, I can't answer everything, so I don't want to mislead anyone. But about how to remember Allah every single day and every single thing that you do, I got to tell you, I'm still working on that myself, to remember Allah at all times. It's not an easy thing, However, but concerning remembering Allah at times of disobedience, you should think about the hereafter. You should really, take a second to yourself. There was a rap song, right, when I was young. And the guy, he said that it was about a man and a woman who used to be, they were together, and then they had a baby. And then when they had the baby, and then they broke up, life went crazy, everything happened bad for them, and then became, the mom with the drama and the baby dad who was no good and all that kind of stuff, right? So this is the basis of the rap song. And this is another reason why all of you, you have to protect yourself from shaitan and some of the music that you listen to. I'm not saying that all of it's bad, because some of it is good. I even listen to some of it, and I even make some of it. However, you have to really protect yourself from the music with the bad messages, as well as the movies with the bad messages. But he had a line in that song where he said, forever, forever, ever, forever, ever, like that, right? And then the line after that, excuse me. And then the line after that, he said that forever never seems that long until you're grown. Right? So with the opposite sex is this. You'll know when you're ready for that, when you're ready to do that forever. If you're in a place now where you don't know what forever means, and this is for the young women as well, then you're not ready for that. And what I mean by that is this, because when a man is with a woman, and I want you to know that this is the most sacred thing between human beings, when a man is with a woman. There's nothing more sacred than that. When a man is with a woman, absolutely nothing more sacred than that, because the basis of Islam is the family. The basis of the family is children. So, you'll know that you're ready when you're ready to take care of her. Right? When you're ready to provide her house and you're ready to provide her food. When you're ready to provide her clothes and everything that it takes necessary for her to keep herself clean, all of her hygiene. And you'll have to, wait, let me ask you a question. Those things that I mentioned, right? Like a woman's hygiene, right? On average, how much does that cost? Stand up, wait, everyone be quiet. Stand up, 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 stand up. So, on average, right? Because it's your obligation. Her hygiene is, it's your obligation. It's not on her. You have to pay for that.
Monthly or yearly?
I mean, how do they use it? I don't know. Do they use it? They take showers once a month, once a year, once a day? I don't know. What do you know?
I don't make enough yet.
You don't make, great answer. Great answer. So you're somebody, you can clap it up for him. Clap it up for him. Because we always love the honesty in here. And my teachers, they told us that, is that half of your religion is to say that you don't know when you don't know. So young people, I got to tell you that, before I come back to you, is that if you don't know a thing, it's better to admit that you don't know a thing and then go find out. How old are you? You. Yeah, Ibn Hussein.
Oh, I'm 19.
You're 19? When I was 19, I probably would have tried to, I don't know, 28 cents for soap, $1.50 for heroin. I would probably try to figure it out. Yeah. But at 19, I definitely wouldn't say I don't know. I don't make enough yet. And so that was a great answer that you don't make enough yet. And I'll tell you that the best marriages are those that are not expensive. But I have to tell you that if you don't have enough money for a woman, or you don't know what it costs, then you definitely don't have enough money for a woman. So you have a lot to do, inshallah, before you could really think about that, And the thing is this, is that how does one know, how many of you take care of yourselves solely? Not like the mentors, just the young men, solely. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Solely, mean that you pay your bills. No. I don't mean you have to wash yourself. That's classic. I know I instructed everyone not to laugh, but that was classic. I gotta tell you, that was classic, bro. So meaning, how many of you and sisters, you guys feel free to raise your hands or chime in, whenever you would like, inshallah. I'm just not trying to put too much pressure on you. I know you're trying very hard to be modest, and may Allah increase you in that. Ameen. And I should let the sisters know that about these young men who are asking about what should they do when they're thinking about the opposite sex and different things, is that you should know that the one that they're thinking about, the one that they can see all the time, the one that they can hear all the time, or the one that they can smell, is not going to be the one that they marry. I gotta tell you. So for the sisters, inshallah, do your best not to go out for the attention of men. Never ever do that. Never ever do that. Don't even go out for the attention of other sisters. Like competing, is my hijab, better than hers, or this or that, or this or that. Never ever do that. Never ever do that. Make sure that when you get dressed in the morning, when you do what you have to do for yourself, all these things, that you're doing it for Allah Ta'ala alone. When your hijab, I know like there's like sometimes like how we even wear our hijab, sometimes we wear it halfway, you want to put it all the way on, but you have to ask yourself, who am I here to please? Because I'm telling you that if you please God, you have no problem pleasing a man. I promise you. You won't have that issue. You don't have to think about it yet. You won't have that issue. If you please God and you're serious about pleasing God, then you won't have a problem pleasing a man. Why? Because pleasing your husband is a part of pleasing God. And it's also a way to Jannah for you. And if you get that concept, you'll never have to go out of your way to be pleasing wrongfully to anybody. So inshallah, do your best to be pleasing to Allah Ta'ala. Inshallah. So, all right, the question that was on the table, is that how many of you take care of yourselves fully? Maybe my vocabulary is a little shoddy, but meaning you take care of yourself, you pay your own bills, you buy your own food, you buy your clothes, you take care of yourself. Yeah, I mean rent too. Yo, because that's a man's job, rent, bro, right? Yeah. All right. So let me ask you this.
How many of you help your parents pay rent?
Subhanallah. 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 So I'll make two comments about that. So first is that those young men and young women that are helping their parents financially, may Allah Ta'ala reward you all. Ameen, ya Rab. Because that, like the Prophet ﷺ, when he was young, and he was an orphan, and then after his father died, and then his mother died, and then his grandfather died, and then he ended up with his uncle, Abu Talib. And Abu Talib had a lot of children. He had a bunch of kids. We hear about Ali all the time, but he had a bunch of kids. And Muhammad ﷺ, being his nephew, not wanting to burden them, he went out to work. He was only 10 years old when he went out to work to help his uncle support him and the rest of his cousins. So what you're doing here, inshallah, make that intention to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to help your parents, in the time of need. Because if they didn't have to take it from you, trust me, they wouldn't take it from you. So when you give it to them with a smile, give it to them with honor, and give it to them in a way, that you're happy to give it to them, that you're happy to help them, inshallah. May Allah increase you and increase them in that. Ameen. But for the brothers, right, who are not paying rent, then check it out. You ready? Even if you're buying like all your clothes, because I think at a certain age you should do that anyway, right? Even if you're getting your own haircut, right? And at a certain age, I think you should do that anyway, right? That should be lifted from your parents. You're not ready for the opposite sex. Why? Because you're not ready to give her an environment and a place of protection. You don't even have a home for her. You don't even have a home for her. You're not. Women are of the kept, and men we're the keepers. You don't even have anywhere to keep her. But let me ask another question for the brothers and sisters. I'm asking the brothers these questions so that way, you can be paying attention and not playing yourself. Inshallah. So it's a method. There's a method to my one-sidedness right now. I don't want you to think that I'm just talking to the brothers. There's a method here. So let me ask you this: how many of you? And I'm sorry to stick on your question. I'm sorry to, go on it. But I just have one more question about it, then we'll go to another question. But let me ask another question. How many of you foresee yourself in the near future being ready to get an apartment, maybe a car, maybe at 13? Nah, I got you. You're Superman, bro. Yeah. You got muscles and money, man. Sheesh. Yeah. So how many back there and right here? So now let me ask you: if you guys don't mind sharing, it's okay. But if you do mind sharing, maybe for me, and some of the other younger brothers, when you're looking for an apartment, how hard is that? Really tough. Stand up back there. Stand up. Right? Really tough. Why?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, you must have a stable job.
So you must have a stable income, sisters. So if it doesn't have a job, like a stable income, listen, I'm all down with the cheaper marriages being the best marriages and all of that. But I'm just trying to protect you and protect your kids. So if he doesn't have a stable income, that's one. Go ahead.
Now, before that, you must have a strong iman too.
And you must have a strong iman, subhanAllah.
Believing in Allah, and you just expecting yourself just to have that stable job, and then you'll be fine with that job.
Subhanallah.
With your iman in Allah and your faith in Allah would help you as long as you try your best.
Subhanallah.
To your best ability. If you're able to do it, then do it.
Subhanallah.
If you can't, do not.
Subhanallah.
Now, one of the other things is that having a stable job in the sense of not, just getting paid whatever, let's say whatever, okay, I'm getting paid, $2,000 a month, depends also on the area you're going to live.
Okay.
My dad told me for example, this area, you have to have at least to make $5,000 just to have a studio. A studio.
Subhanallah.
That's one of the other things.
Okay.
So, and you make sure that you have enough money to not just spend on the apartment, but also food, accessibilities to clothes, to where you can go. It all varies to where you live and how you manage your money.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. That is.
I'm charge.
Am I okay? All right. There are two things you mentioned, and I just want to make sure everybody caught it. I'm gonna get to you, sister, inshallah. The next one. I just want to make sure that everyone caught it. Is that he spoke about location some and environments. Environments most important, of course. There was two things that he mentioned. One that he mentioned from his dad, and I think your dad's a wise man, for giving you the realness, because if $5,000 is just enough for a studio apartment here, you make $5,000 a month and that's all you can afford to pay your bills, then you may be able, to get a wife at that point. But if you have children, then God bless you, So that's that. And what I wanted to mention is that he said that you have to have the stable income, which is one thing. And I'll come to the sisters with this a little bit, because when you guys get married, that it's not your obligation to work. You don't have to do that. I encourage you all, to get an education and to be able to provide for yourselves if need be. However, for the woman, is that when you get married, you have a choice. You can work or not work. You can start to work and then quit your job. You can do whatever you want as far as work is concerned, because it's not your obligation to work. And that when you make money, that your money is your money. And I have to tell this to the brothers as well, is that, and when she makes money, that her money is her money. And so it's not to be counted into his the $5,000 a month. That's just for the man. So that idea, and you want to have the help. If you have a woman who can help you some, alhamdulillah, may Allah bless her and raise her. But it's not her job. So that $5,000 a month for the studio is specifically just for the man. And the reason why I want to mention something on the other side to the women is that it's not your obligation to work, but we're human beings as men, and that sometimes we fall short. So sometimes, as human beings, we don't have enough money. He may work 1,000,000 hours. He may do, all the things that he needs to do. And however, Allah Ta'ala may not give him the sustenance that he's looking for. But he did say something that was very, very important for all of us. 'Cause I don't want to scare anyone with money. I don't want anyone to think that, that money is the bottom line to you fulfilling half of your deen. But he said that you have to rely on Allah. That if you don't have it, that He'll provide it. And here, I just don't want that to be. I don't want that to be a fake theory. I don't want that to be, we're going to rely on Allah and alhamdulillah, maybe He's going to send it our way, inshallah. I don't want you to think like that. I want you to take that as a real concept in your life. To rely on Allah. One of the names of God is Ar-Razik, and He is a sustainer. So all that you have, all of your food, all of your clothes, this place that we're in, your houses, everywhere you've lived, everywhere you slept, all of that was given to you by Allah. Maybe it means to your parents, or your father with his job, or this or that, but it came from Allah. So anything that your husband is going to be able to give you and provide for you and provide for your children, and the kind of lives that I know that a lot of times the young women have in their minds to living, is that is going to come from Allah Ta'ala. It's not going to come from your husband. So that comment that I made in the beginning about pleasing Allah and to not search for the attention of men, it goes in direct correlation with that. Why? Because if you do your absolute best to please Allah Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala will reward you. If you do your absolute best, He will reward you. And that reward, it may not come, with a big house, with a picket fence. It may not come. Here, I'll tell you a story. I'm very young, and I've been married. I have 6 children at home. And alhamdulillah.
What? You get a surprise?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah. Right? And so I got married very young, very, very young. And the reason why this topic here, I'll be a little personal with you, and maybe if this gets edited out, it's good. If it's not, it's okay as well. But I'll be personal with you. Is that when I was growing up, like I mentioned to you in the very beginning, is that I didn't have great examples, right? I didn't have great examples of deen. We were Muslims. Like my name was Ibn Ali. My middle name is even Abdul Qadim. I'm being honest. And about this, I want to tell you something. So I mentioned I had 6 kids, and everyone goes, whew. I'm used to that, right? But I'll tell you something, man. When I had my first kid, it was more hard for me, being a father, not in a structured situation than all the kids I have now. And my house is like, you know, romper room. You got no clue, bro. My house is crazy. I got people jumping off the couch. You know, I got people in the refrigerator, shouldn't be in the refrigerator touching the butter, you know. I got guys popping up on my K-cups, wasting my coffee, you know. And I'm leaving home, you know, even like on my way here, you know, I find like a barrette in my pocket. So, alhamdulillah, you know, it's just, so that's how my, you know, how my house is now. And I know it's hard for my wife, but I want to mention something to you about her as well, inshallah. But it was harder for me having one child in that kind of a situation than it was than me having all the kids that I have now, being married and having a home to provide for them and, you know, to protect them and to, you know, alhamdulillah, to make an environment for all of them to grow in their Islam, you know. And from that being, you know, my goal, Allah Ta'ala has blessed me and has made it very easy for me in that, you know. And so what I want to tell you that is about sin is that the nature of sin is a punishment. That's the thing with sin. So, hey, you got to be, hey, you, Assalamu alaikum. Can I have a high five? Come here real quick. High five. Alhamdulillah, okay. If you want to be with a woman, that you have to respect her. That if you want to be with a woman, that you have to marry her. You have to take care of her. You know, you have to uphold her honor. You have to be with her in a way in which her father would approve of. That's like number one, most important. To be with her in a way that her father approves of, bro. So if you're doing, because here's the thing, when you're with, you know, when you know, the opposite sex thing, when you're with a woman, you know, you're not just disrespecting her. That's not who you're disrespecting, bro. You are disrespecting her, and she's disrespecting herself as well. And together, you're disrespecting her parents, bro. Her father, bro. That's who you're disrespecting, her father. And if you're a human being, you have a father. And in my young mind, I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about, you know, her dad, you know. Half the people where I grew up didn't even have dads, you know. So I'm telling you all, you can laugh, it's okay. But I'm telling you all that, you know, if you have your parents, you know, give them the utmost respect. And that you brothers, you know, is that if you're interested in a young woman who has, you know, her father is around, you know, be a man, go to him. Be a man, go to him. Because the hardest thing for me having a young child was the lack of assistance. It was the lack of assistance. Nobody to help us. Nobody to help us. And then my mom's great, man. I gotta tell you. My mom is like, she's hard on me, but she won't let anyone else be hard on me though, you know? So I'm her baby. So even when all my uncles, they told her not to help me, she helped me anyway. SubhanAllah. I have that kind of mom. But the lack of assistance that we had, you know, man, it was very, very hard for us. And it even led me, you know, to make even more mistakes, you know? And so I'm telling you all, don't put yourselves in that kind of position. And then what I wanted to mention about now is that I was married when I was like 19 or 20. You guys, when you get married, don't forget what age you got married at. You know, if it's 19 or 20, you should know if it's 19 or if it's 20. So I'm just going to go with 20 here. And it's funny, I remember when we got married, our wedding was very small. We had, you know, just a few childhood friends. The Imam Amin, he married us. He was even my wife's wali. My wife, she still is the only Muslim in her family, you know. And it's funny is that I was working a job in a casino in Atlantic City, you know, and I was working like 7 days a week at the time. And I had my first place. The rent was $875 a month. And so I had to work at Ruby Tuesdays, a restaurant, and I had to work in the Borgata Casino just to be able to afford my rent. And then after that, I think I was making like $1,200 a month. So then I would have enough for gas in my car. I would have enough for like the car insurance. And, you know, depending if it was like the playoffs or not, I would have enough for cable, you know, like that. Yeah, so I only had cable like in like around this time, May, June. And after that, no cable in my house. And I remember, you know, when we got married, and I went to my cousins, and, you know, they were explaining to me some things, and they were saying, you know, things are going to change for you now. You know, it's going to be you and her, you know. You two are the team now, you know. anything you do, it affects her. And anything that she does, it would affect you. And ultimately, anything that you two guys do is going to affect your children and it's going to affect your house, And then, and I was like, yeah. I was listening to him. I was like, okay, like that, I didn't necessarily see it, right away, but we seen it sometime later. And I lost that job after we got married. I mean, like, I don't know, in the coming days, maybe like a week or so, I took off, we didn't do like a honeymoon or anything. I got married the last year, and I called out of work and said, "Y'all got married." I think they thought I was lying or something. And but man, after that, man, God made things so easy for us. You have absolutely no clue. Still struggled nonetheless, but my wife, she became pregnant. She quit her job. She was like 19, and she's 26 now. She's never been back to work again. SubhanAllah, and then from there we had more babies, and then we had another baby, and then we had another baby until we got to 6, And I'm SubhanAllah. And every time that Allah Ta'ala, that He would bless us with another child, is that He would increase my sustenance as well, So every time that I had a baby, and doing these things the right way, He would give me more money and more money and more money and more money every single time, Wallahi, I'm not even joking, Wallahi, like, I can't, I didn't finish college. I had to drop out because I had the kids, I did like 2 years at TC&J, and then I came home, I took a couple classes at community college, and it was like, all right, whatever with that, you gotta work, you gotta go provide. And then I kept going to job after job and losing job after job, and then I started business after business, kept failing business after business. I'll get us some more money, the money will get up, I'll save some more money, 10 grand and so, start another business and fell again, And then somehow, Allah Ta'ala, He keeps providing for us. And in a way that I can't even ask for it, And about that, because I know someone's asking, well, you have 6 kids, you're always losing your job, and you're always failing at a business. Which sounds really bad, by the way, now that I say it out loud, and you say, well, what does your wife do? Well, 2 things. Is one, that my wife, she believes in Allah, she doesn't believe in her husband. That's number 1, is that she believes in God. She doesn't believe in her husband. She knows that anything I provide for her, that it came from Allah. She knows that, no doubt. And the second thing I want to add to that is that, and that makes it so much easier for me to provide for her and to please her. Like I'll come home from this trip. I don't know what I'm going to come home with yet, but I want to bring something from here and I want to take it home. And she's going to be delighted. She's going to say, oh, mashallah. She's going to be happy. She's going to be so happy you thought about me, And when you have that kind of relationship where both of you rely on Allah that way, the idea of pleasing each other, you'll be able to please each other even more than right now than what for pleasure to be, SubhanAllah. So I'll stop that because I got the 5-minute card. Alhamdulillah. Brother Muhammad, who's the man. Everyone give it up for Muhammad, inshallah. He got my train ticket, and he bought me a shrimp quesadilla. Yep. He got me Motrin, and I have a little code, I don't know if you can tell, and he got me Airborne, And then they took me to a room where I could sleep, and he even tucked me in. SubhanAllah. One more time, So I'll end up. I'm so sorry because I had so many other things, and I want to get a question from the sister first in the back, in the black hijab. 1 second.
You answered it.
Oh, so you're next 1 second. And I had a bunch of other stuff to talk about, but I'm very sorry that we got stuck on this topic with one question of the men and the women. But I find that out of all the things, that this thing here, that is one of the most pressing things. Even with all the, because here's the thing, even if you're not doing bad with violence, if you're not doing bad messing up with drugs, if you're not doing bad messing up in school, even no matter, how good you are, the opposite sex is still an issue for you, regardless, and that's okay, so I don't want anyone to feel weird about anything that they're feeling. However, I want all of you to know that with sin comes punishment, and with following the commands of Allah, there comes reward. So about this with the opposite sex is that if you make a mistake, you will be punished. You'll be punished either in this life or you'll be punished in the next life. However, if you do this thing the right way, you'll get a reward, possibly here and in the hereafter. And may Allah Ta'ala give me and give all of you that reward. Ameen. Ameen. So the sister with the question?
So what if it's family member that's encountering like a struggle that you want to help them, but they won't allow you to help because with family, if you try to assist them, they're like, oh no, you think you're better than me, or and they don't want your help. They'd rather help from their friends, but sometimes their friends might not be the best influence.
Here's the thing with family. Like family, mean like your house, like cousins, distant relatives, like brothers, sisters, because there's a difference how you deal.
So between siblings and like relatives.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Immediate family.
Subhanallah. Here's the thing, man. Like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, get me again if I'm jacking it up. Inshallah. He said to tell the truth even if it's bitter. That's the best advice I can give. Because here's the thing, like the way that our teachers told us, they told us to go teach, even in the face of oppression. They said that those people who are oppressing the people, with incorrect knowledge and different things, he said they may not listen to you right then and there, while you're right there in front of them, because of what you mentioned. You feel like you're better than me. Sometimes it's not even that. You just may have nur. You may have a light that's blinding. Because when a person's in darkness, just imagine that someone's in a dark room, and imagine this is their heart, that dark room, And as soon as you crack that door and you let some light through it, they go, ah. So you have to know that as well. That sometimes people aren't ready, But the thing is that you have to tell them the truth, so that way you know for sure that they heard it. So that way you know for sure that there may come a time where they'll adhere to that. But if we don't pray for them, if we don't give them good counsel, which is our job as believers, then how would they ever know? And also is that maybe they just forgot. Maybe they just forgot. Maybe they grew up like you and they know what they're supposed to do, but maybe they just forgot. Maybe Shaitan got to them so much they just forgot. And the believer is benefited from the reminder. So remind them, inshallah, and have a tough skin. Don't worry about the backlash. Why? Because you're pleasing them or pleasing Allah. And Allah will love it much, if you gave them good counsel and reminded them of what they forget, inshallah. May Allah reward you in that and reward them and bring them back to the deen. Ameen.